Hi, this is Scouty111 here. I've been watching your videos with great interest, and I haven't introduced myself yet, so I thought I'd do so in response to your last video about meaning. As I studied philosophy as an undergraduate, and in particular I was interested in the work of Wittgenstein and philosophy of language. I studied with Bruce Goldberg. I don't know if you've read some of his papers on Wittgenstein. Was very fortunate to have him as a professor. I took 3 courses with him because I just couldn't get enough philosophy of language and Wittgenstein. For anyone who happens to be listening who is not interested in philosophy, the nature of meaning, and so forth, please turn this off. I will bore you to tears. I really thought about making this video private to and I really don't even know how to do that, so I thought, well, I'll go ahead and make it public. I wrote a paper at the end of my coursework, actually, with Bruce Goldberg, and about nature of meaning and so forth, to sort of, well, I gave it to him, of course, to read and to comment upon, and but I really sort of did it for my own edification. It's been sitting on my shelves for years, and I really do miss having conversations in the field of philosophy, and particularly on this issue of meaning and the context dependency of meaning. I miss that. So I would like to read my paper to you. As I thought about sort of summarizing it and then talking to you and so forth, but I think I would just like to read it. It's rather lengthy, but I think I think you have the interest potentially to listen to this thing, and I'd love to hear what you had to say. So, for anyone who's not interested in hearing a philosophy paper, just turn this off now. Please. So this will end abruptly, and this will end up going on to a couple videos. So I have a 10-minute limit here. So let me go ahead and get right to this, and I look forward to hearing from you, either by email or in some way. It makes no difference. All right. This was part 1, a discussion on the nature of meaning, a brief history. Rationalism. Rationalists contend that humans can learn important truths about the world, independent of experience, simply by using one's mind and powers of reason. Anselm's ontological argument for the existence of God is a paradigmatic example of rationalism, as he attempted to prove the existence of God via the natural light of reason. The rationalists also believed that mathematics is a method of realizing ultimate truths. For example, they would assert that 2 + 2 = 4 is necessarily true, independent of experience, and thus 2 + 2 is a truth about a world beyond our world, so to speak. The consistencies found in Euclidean geometry and the ability to perform geometrical proofs also added support to their views. It was a quickie on rationalism, but on to empiricism. During the 18th century, a new way of thinking emerged. Empiricist philosophy challenged the rationalist convictions by arguing, for example, that mathematical truths are merely definitional truths analogous to a bachelor is an unmarried man, and that definitional truths do not in fact tell us anything about the world. Also, the advent of non-Euclidean geometries challenged rationalistic thought, as these geometries were completely consistent, but contradicted the rationalists' esteemed Euclidean geometry. The fundamentalist empiricist claim is completely antithetical to the rationalists. Empiricist philosophers contend that knowledge begins with experience as opposed to being independent of it. The following statements are central to the empiricist point of view. Number 1, there is nothing that exists in the mind that did not first begin with experience. Number 2, whatever one knows can ultimately be reduced to experiential terms. Number 3, the ultimate building blocks of knowledge are experience, and everything else is a construct from that experience. In Treatise on Human Nature, empiricist David Hume argued that all knowledge divides into impressions and ideas. Ideas are themselves constructs out of impressions, sensations. Therefore, everything must be reducible to a final level, which consists of simple, unanalyzable entities, the atomic elements of experience knowledge that are gained through sense experience. I will first describe the distinction between a concept that is complex or analyzable versus one that is simple or unanalyzable. As stated previously, the empiricist contends that all knowledge, which from here on I will refer to as concepts, can ultimately be reduced to experience or experiential terms. This implies that our concepts are complex entities constructed out of that which is unanalyzable. Therefore, a concept that is complex is one that can be analyzed or deconstructed into that which is simple or unanalyzable. The unanalyzable is that which has reached its lower limit. It can no longer be deconstructed. For the empiricist to maintain this view, he must establish a lower limit or source of meaning, or else the verbal deconstruction analysis process would continue ad infinitum, and the source of meaning of any or all ideas would continually escape his grasp. Therefore, on this view, if there did not exist simple unanalyzable concepts, people could not have any concept at all. For the empiricist, the simple unanalyzable concepts, or the lower limit, consists of sense experience, and this experience can be expressed in the sense experiential language terms, such as round, square, red, etc. The empiricist would say, for example, that there is no definition of red. Red is a simple concept. Red is a concept directly connected with the world, and it gets its meaning by pointing. That is, we simply say and point, that's red. For the empiricist, not all definitions can be verbal definitions, or else the empiricist would be confronted with an infinite regress once again. The only way to stop the regress is if there were such a thing as a concept whose meaning is intrinsic to it. The empiricists claim that simple concepts or ostensive definitions are concepts of just that kind. That is, meaning is intrinsic to them, and therefore they are the source of meaning. Thus, the empiricist claims to eliminate all vagueness in language because the atomic or simple concepts cannot be branched any further. For the empiricist, ambiguity is a function of branching. That is, if a concept could be branched for analysis, then two people, or the same person for that matter, could interpret the same structure in two different ways, thereby causing fundamental problems in understanding one's own thoughts and also communicating with others. That is, the empiricist contends that simple concepts are the guard against ambiguity. They are intrinsically unambiguous. Okay, now on to the problem of simple unanalyzable concepts as a source of meaning. Number 1, ostensive definitions do not ameliorate ambiguity. As stated earlier, the empiricist claims that complex concepts derive their meaning from simple concepts that can only gain their meaning by pointing, that is, by ostensive definition. That is, for the empiricist, ostensive definitions ameliorate or clear the problem of ambiguity. However, I argue that when someone points to something in the world, it is not necessarily immediately apparent what one is pointing to. That is, pointing itself contains ambiguity. I will discuss this further under the section entitled The Problem of Intrinsically Unambiguous Objects. I also question, how can red, for example, be one's foundation for meaning when one doesn't know what red means? The empiricist view leads to a template theory of recognition and a picture theory of meaning and communication, which I propose are nonsensical. Okay, and I'll discuss this further in another section of the paper entitled Template Theory. Well, as I hope you're still with me, and on to part 2.